Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're continuing in Sefer Ahavas Yisroel. The learning is dedicated by the Harris family of Cleveland, L'ilui Nishmas Rabbi Moshe Hauer. We're in Parak Hey, and we're up to a very powerful Nakuda. V'hine achai v'reai, and behold, my brothers and friends, acharei she'adanu, since we know ki achet ve'avain ho'ikari, that the primary sin shegaram l'chorban beis mikdashenu, that caused the destruction of our temple. Vesibas arichus galusenu, and the reason for the length of our exile, hu ha'avain shel sinas chinam bein Yisroel, is the sin of baseless hatred. Al kain kishanu roisim v'sam sheibanu beis mikdashenu. When we decide that we want and we're hoping for the Beis Hamikdash to be built, mechuyavim anu l'sakin es asher kalkalnu. We're obligated to rectify our corruption. So that's an obvious point. If the main cause of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, in other words, if you want to know what am I doing here in Golos? You ever think about that? Here it is. I live in New York. I live in California, or wherever you may live. What in the world am I doing here? I'm thousands of miles away from the land that Hashem gave my grandfather Avram Avinu. What am I doing here? The answer is because we don't like each other. So now there's a great principle. This is one of the 20 ingredients of tshuva of Rabbeinu Yonah, and it's sourced in the Medrash, that when you want to rectify something, you need to counteract it and go in the other direction. So how would we apply that to Sinas Chinam? V'al pima she'amru Chazal, based on what Chazal said. Asa Adam chavilois shel averos. Chazal say, if a person did mounds of sin, yaseh kenegdam chavilos shel mitzvos, he should counteract them by doing bundles of mitzvos. Therefore, vehatikun lazeh, the rectification of this sin, hu sheyifal kol echad benafshay, you should activate, you should access, you should effectuate in your soul lehoiv as kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael, to love every member of the Jewish people, bein begufay, whether physically, uvein b'mamoinoi, or financially, v'lochos al kavoidoi, u'mamoinoi shel chaveroi, and to be concerned for the honor and the money of your friend, kishem shechas al kavoid u'mamoin atzmai. The same way you take pity on your own honor and money. V'alzeh huzharnu b'mitzvas v'ahavta l'recha kamecha. With this, we are warned, we are commanded in the mitzvah, love your neighbor like yourself. U'kamay shekasav harambam. It's very interesting, this paragraph. I'm going to tell you why. The Chafetz Chaim is invoking the principle that when you do averos, the way to rectify it is to counteract it by doing mitzvahs. Now, what would the opposite of sinas chinam be? If I may, there was a phrase coined by Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen Kook. It's called Ahavas chinam. So one may think then that to counteract baseless hatred, you should counteract it with this feeling of generous love for every Jew. In other words, if let's say if I disliked Yidden, so to counteract that sin, one should try to engender feelings of love and goodwill toward all Jews. To counteract sinas chinam, you should engender avas chinam. Is that what the Chafetz Chaim is saying? Maybe partially, because he does say the line sheyifal kol echad benafshay lehoiv es kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael. That you should activate in yourself a love for every single Jew. But he also adds there's a more basic definition of Ahavas Yisrael. The more basic definition is to be concerned for their honor and the money of your friend. So in other words, even before you're able to engender some type of generous love, and maybe we have to discuss that, what that even means. The Navi says, Oy havim nedava. You ever hear that expression from the Navi? Oy havim nedava. A, a generous love. A generous love sounds like you're engendering a certain feeling of goodwill toward other Jews. In other words, in your heart of heart, you have a feeling of ahava to other Jews. But the Chavetz Chaim is saying, even before that, at the very least, to be concerned for someone else's honor the same way you would protect your own honor. The same way you would be sensitive if somebody said certain things to you, even though they're not outright insulting, but when it comes to your own kavod, you would be on high alert where a certain remark would bother you. That's how you should be careful when it comes to other people's honor. Or when it comes to your own money, you wouldn't want to be damaged. You wouldn't want to put your money in jeopardy or in danger. Well, you should think the same about your friend. So there really it comes out two levels of this. The basic level is to be concerned for your friend's honor and to be concerned for your friend's money. The higher level, and we have to see what that means, is to have a feeling of generous love toward every member of the Jewish people as a way of rectifying and counteracting Sinas Chinam. And with that, I'm going to wish you a good day. Have a good day, everyone. Kol tov.